If you do not possess a millionaire mind, you could be handed 10 fortunes and still die broke. But if you possess it, you could lose everything and still build it again. The man who earns riches by law keeps them. The man who stumbles into them by chance loses them. Which one will you be? This is not a speech for those who wish. This is for those who will. You must not only think like a millionaire, you must begin to act like one, and you must begin now. Do not listen with curiosity. Listen with commitment. If you hear this through, speak these truths aloud. Write your definite aim and obey these laws daily. Poverty will no longer belong to you. Wealth does not begin with money. It does not begin with inheritance. It does not begin with opportunity. Wealth begins with a state of mind. And unless that state of mind is fixed, trained, and directed with purpose, no amount of income, inheritance, or good fortune will keep a man from returning to the poverty he has accepted in his thoughts. If you would become a true millionaire, not a man who simply touches money, but one who commands it, you must first possess the mental pattern of riches. You must hold within you the thought of wealth so vividly, so definitively, so persistently, that your outer world has no choice but to take shape around it. The common man waits for opportunity. The millionaire creates it in his mind and calls it forth. The average man prays for luck. The man of fortune operates by law, and that law says what you think, in combination with burning desire, emotional repetition, and definite purpose, becomes your reality. A poor man with a rich mind will soon attract fortune. A rich man with a poor mind will soon lose it. This is not suggestion. It is not optimism. It is not theory. It is law. And it does not change for anyone. True riches cannot exist until they first exist in the mind. You must first become a man of wealth in your identity before you ever see a coin in your pocket. You must believe that riches are your right, that you were not born to scrape, to beg, to wander through life as a servant of wages and interest rates. You were born to think, to decide, to command, and money is simply the obedient servant of the man who understands this. Let me speak now of Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate who transformed the American industrial landscape. Carnegie did not begin as a man of wealth. He did not inherit gold. He did not stumble into fortune. What he possessed, long before a single business was built, was a mental picture of vast riches, held firmly in his imagination, burned into his mind with desire so strong it silenced doubt. That image governed every step he took, every decision he made, and every opportunity he pursued. He did not wait for permission. He did not ask for luck. He built wealth in his mind first, and by the power of that vision, material wealth came second. You must now do the same. The first tool you need is not capital. It is a definite chief aim. This is the mental blueprint of your financial future. It is not vague. It is not a hope. It is a clearly written statement of what you intend to become, what you intend to earn, and what you intend to give in return. Without this aim, you are like a ship without a rudder, drifting, carried by tide and storm. But with this aim, you become unstoppable. Write your definite chief aim. Write it today. Speak it aloud each morning and each evening. Begin to build the fortune in your thoughts. Picture it in the present tense. Speak it as if it were already yours. Do not be timid. Do not edit it for the comfort of others. Speak boldly. Declare your right to riches, not as a thief demanding what he did not earn, but as a son returning to claim his inheritance from a universe that respects law. Most men fail to become rich because they never declare it. They never fix the thought in their mind. They entertain it, then let it drift away. They wish for riches, but they do not command them. They speak of wealth as if it belonged only to others. They say, if only I had money, rather than, I am building wealth now. And so they remain servants while the men of decision rise to become masters. Do not fall into this trap. Begin today to build your financial house in the mind. Begin to repeat your definite chief aim until it becomes your only option. Let it guide your daily actions, your associations, your reading, your planning. If a thought does not support your aim, discard it. If a habit does not support your aim, replace it. If a man does not support your aim, walk alone until you find one who does. You are not a product of chance. You are not a victim of economy. You are not a beggar. You are a builder. And your building begins with the tools of thought, the tools of desire, the tools of faith. Riches respond to a definite mind, not a desperate one. If you would change your life, you must first change your pattern of thinking. Nothing more, nothing less. So say this aloud and do not whisper it. My riches begin in my mind. I command my attention. I do not hope. I decide. Speak that again. Speak it as a man who means it. Speak it until the old image of yourself breaks and falls away, until the poverty identity crumbles and is replaced by a man who walks with conviction. That man is already in you. You need only awaken him. There will be days when your outer world contradicts your vision. Ignore them. Keep building. There will be moments when doubt creeps in. Silence it with repetition. The man who holds the image, repeats the aim, and persists in the discipline of belief will outlast every obstacle. Wealth will not be able to resist him. You may say, but I have no money. That does not matter. Build the idea, and the idea will build the means. You may say, but I have failed. Then you are ready. The man who has failed but still thinks with definiteness is more powerful than the man who succeeds without direction. So I ask you now, before we go further, have you written your definite chief aim? Have you spoken it aloud today? Have you seen yourself already in possession of the riches you desire? If not, do it now. Do not wait until this speech ends. Do it now, because the mind must be seized while it is awake, and you are awake now. My riches begin in my mind. I command my attention. I do not hope, I decide. This is the beginning of power. This is the mindset of a millionaire. A man's fortune is not built by what he hears. It is built by what he accepts and repeats. The world will feed you 1,000 thoughts before the noon hour strikes. It will offer you opinions, fears, assumptions, and urgencies, none of which are designed to make you rich. If you would think and act like a true millionaire, you must first learn to choose your thoughts with precision, just as a builder selects his tools. The man who entertains every thought is like a man who builds with rotten timber. He wonders why the house collapses, unaware he allowed the material to poison the foundation. Let me be plain. The man who thinks like the masses lives like the masses. And the masses do not live richly. They live reactively. They drift from one opinion to the next, one fear to the next, one piece of gossip to the next. They do not know the law of thought, and so they are ruled by men who do. You must not be one of them. There exists a law, fixed and unchanging, known as controlled attention. This law states that whatever you fix your attention upon consistently and deliberately, your mind will build, your emotions will support, and your actions will pursue. It is the steering wheel of the mind. If you do not seize it, it will be seized by others. And the man who does not control his attention will be directed by every headline, every critic, every negative friend, and every drifting relative with an opinion about your life. And so I tell you now, you must master controlled attention. You must guard the gates of your mind with militant discipline. Let in only what brings clarity, power, and direction. Let in only the words, images, ideas, and beliefs that sharpen your aim and strengthen your persistence. And if anything comes to you that brings doubt, confusion, fear, or hesitation, reject it instantly. Do not allow it to pass through your lips. Do not repeat it. Do not give it shelter in your mind. You must also learn accurate thinking, the discipline of separating facts from opinion, truth from noise, purpose from pressure. The majority of men confuse volume for wisdom. They believe that if something is repeated often enough, it must be true. But repetition does not make something accurate. It makes it accepted. And there is a great difference. Let me give you an example. A man whose name history will never erase, Henry Ford. He was mocked, ridiculed, condemned by the experts of his time. They told him the world did not need automobiles. They said men were content with horses. They said his vision was impractical. But Ford did not listen. He did not drift. He did not borrow thoughts from the crowd. He trusted his own. He obeyed the picture in his mind and ignored the noise around him. And because of that discipline, he changed the transportation of the world and built a fortune that outlived him. No millionaire ever asked the crowd what to believe. No builder of fortune ever said, "Let me hear what the critics say before I proceed." The millionaire mind thinks independently, guided not by consensus, but by purpose. Now I will tell you what few men ever hear. You are not obligated to believe every thought that passes through your mind. Your thoughts are tools. You must decide which to keep and which to cast aside. Begin to ask of every thought, does this empower me or weaken me? Does this serve my aim or distract from it? Does this build my courage or feed my fear? And if the answer does not align with your aim, you must throw the thought out as quickly as you would throw a burning coal from your hand. The man who believes everything he hears is a slave. The man who chooses what to believe becomes a king. This is now your discipline. Refuse to allow one fearful word to dominate your mind before noon. You will begin your morning by speaking your definite chief aim aloud, not with doubt, but with fire. You will affirm your purpose, not your problems. You will read truth, not opinion. And you will feed your mind only that which sharpens your belief and accelerates your action. If a man brings you bad news, you will not repeat it. If you catch yourself speaking doubt, you will correct yourself mid-sentence. If fear tries to rise in your mind, you will command it to be still, and you will answer it with action. This is how a man becomes a millionaire, not by chance, not by luck, but by law, by choosing his thoughts with the same care a banker counts his coins. Now hear this. A man's thoughts are his property, and what he allows in his mental house becomes his legacy. You are not required to share the belief system of the poor, the fearful, the hesitant. You are not required to adopt the language of small men. You are allowed to walk in power, even when others do not understand you. You are allowed to think like a millionaire long before you are called one. And so I give you your command for today. I will no longer borrow thoughts from the crowd. I choose only what builds power. I train my mind to obey my aim. Say it aloud. Say it again. Do not whisper. Let your own voice train your subconscious to stop drifting. From this moment forward, you are not merely reacting to life. You are constructing it, one thought at a time. You must now think as the millionaire thinks, independently, deliberately, purposefully. The average man will say, "That's not realistic." And that is why he remains average. You will say, "If I can hold it in my mind, I can hold it in my hand." And that is why you are different. Controlled attention is now your weapon. Accurate thinking is your shield. Choose your thoughts. Command your mind. And riches will follow as surely as daylight follows the dawn. Poverty is not first a condition of the pocket. It is a condition of the mind. You may believe that you are poor because of your surroundings, your circumstances, or your past. But I tell you now, with the authority of law, poverty begins where fear is allowed to live, and it ends the moment you replace fear with definite thought. A man is not poor because he lacks money. He is poor because he has accepted an identity of lack, of limitation, of littleness. And he repeats that identity daily, not with words alone, but with belief, action, and indecision. The true cause of poverty is not the absence of money, it is the presence of fear, indecision, and doubt. These three form the unholy trinity that binds millions of men to a life they hate and yet refuse to change. It is not the economy that enslaves them. It is their own belief system, unchecked and undisciplined. You must now become the man who breaks that belief and replaces it with law. I have written of the 6 ghosts of fear, and if you are to become wealthy in mind and in reality, you must study them as you would study a thief, because that is what they are: thieves of vision, thieves of confidence, thieves of wealth. And the 2 most dangerous among them are fear of poverty and fear of criticism. The fear of poverty is the most widespread. It hides behind thoughts like, I can't afford that, or that's too risky, or people like me don't get rich. It convinces a man to shrink his vision to match his wallet instead of stretching his mind to match his calling. It keeps him circling the same job, the same paycheck, the same limitation, year after year, while whispering that to want more is dangerous, selfish, or unrealistic. Then comes the fear of criticism. This fear ensures that even if a man does dream, he will not speak it, he will not move, he will not begin, for he is too afraid of what others might say. And so he edits his vision to please the poor thinkers around him. He silences himself to fit in with the drifting many. He hides from ridicule, and in doing so hides from success. If you would be free, you must not only reject poverty, you must divorce the identity of lack. You must speak these words aloud until they become your new foundation. I am not bound by fear. I am not a child of poverty. I was born to master money, not to be mastered by it. Say it now. Let your voice be the first sign that the old self is gone. Say it again, louder. This is your declaration of independence, not from people, but from the identity that kept you small. Every wealthy man I have ever studied had one thing in common. Long before he earned his first fortune, he refused to think like the poor. He refused to define himself by his present condition. He rejected the voice that said, "You were not born for wealth," and answered back, "Then I will be reborn in thought, and from that thought I will build my fortune." The cure to poverty is not found in coins. It is found in decision. A man does not have to know all the steps to be rich. He need only decide that he will never again accept a life of mental poverty, that he will never again speak defeat, that he will never again repeat the stories that kept him broke, that he will never again identify with lack. You must now understand that your current financial hardship is not your identity. It is your training. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. The world is asking whether you will bow to fear or rise in decision, and how you answer determines what you will earn. Do not say, "I am broke." Say, "I am building." Do not say, "I am stuck." Say, "I am preparing." Do not say, "I am nothing." Say, "I am a man in command of something great." For as you speak, you plant. And what you plant in your mind, your life will harvest. Let this now be your command. Poverty ends where decision begins. The man who commands his self-image will not live small for long. He cannot. The universe itself will not allow a man of definite belief to remain in limitation. Opportunities will seek him. People will feel his difference. Circumstances will obey him, not because he is lucky, but because he is aligned with law. The law does not favor the wealthy. It favors the obedient. And those who obey the law of thought, the law of decision, the law of belief, will rise regardless of background, education, or environment. You are not the exception. You are the proof if you decide. Do not wait for conditions to improve. Improve your thoughts. Do not wait for people to understand. Begin alone. Do not wait for signs. You have already received one, this very speech. So say it again. I am not bound by fear. I am not a child of poverty. I was born to master money, not to be mastered by it. Let this become your morning declaration. Let it replace every complaint, every excuse, every borrowed belief. Let it be the voice that silences your doubt before the world can speak it. You were not created to live beneath your purpose. You were not made to apologize for wanting more. You were not born to blend into smallness. You are being trained, tested, and refined so that when riches come, as they will, you will know they did not define you. You defined them. And now the decision is yours. Remain in poverty or rise in purpose. Choose now. Choose loudly. Choose finely. There exists a silent power that shapes every man's destiny, and yet few ever acknowledge it. It is not luck. It is not fate. It is not intelligence. It is the silent hand of habit, and it governs your life whether you command it or not. If you are poor, it is because you have built habits that serve poverty. If you are rich, it is because your habits serve wealth. And if you would transform your financial condition, you must begin not with your income, but with your daily behavior. The millionaire is not made by a moment. He is made by repeated, deliberate action governed by law. This law is called the law of cosmic habit force. It is the invisible force that takes whatever you do often and makes it part of who you are. It does not question whether your actions are useful or destructive. It only obeys what you repeat. If you repeat delay, it builds procrastination into your identity. If you repeat fear, it embeds doubt into your movement. But if you repeat bold action, clear thought, focused work, then it engraves power into your soul. The millionaire does not work harder. He works intentionally. He does not leave his success to chance or to emotion. His habits carry him when motivation fails. His routine is not a prison, it is a path. He wakes on purpose. He reads for growth. He plans for execution. He surrounds himself with people and words that reflect his vision, not his weakness. His day is a system, not a gamble. And because of that, his results are predictable. Now let me remind you of one of the greatest minds history has ever known, Thomas Edison. He was not made in a moment of genius. He was made in thousands of hours of consistent, repetitive, focused work. 10,000 attempts, 10,000 trials, 10,000 failures, and still he persisted. Why? Because habit was his ally. He did not wait for inspiration to strike. He commanded his own energy through the power of routine. The world remembers him not because of his flashes of brilliance, but because he lived by principle, not preference. You must now build habits that support riches. Your morning must no longer belong to confusion, delay, or weakness. It must belong to discipline. Each day, begin with these instructions. Speak your definite chief aim aloud with intensity. Read something that sharpens your vision. Write your priorities with purpose. Work on your craft with focused energy before the world speaks distraction into you. Reflect in silence. Pray with faith. Move with decision. And protect your time as the sacred soil in which wealth will grow. Beware the rituals that lead to ruin. Idle conversation, aimless wandering, gossip and criticism. These are the unconscious habits of the poor. These are not just wasteful, they are poisonous. They shape your attitude, weaken your belief, and blind you to opportunity. A man becomes what he repeats, and repetition is not reserved for greatness. Failure is also the result of habit. The man who watches instead of works, the man who postpones instead of decides, the man who talks of ideas but acts on none, these are not victims. They are followers of a habit force they never challenged. You are not that man. You must now say aloud, I am a man of intention. My habits build my wealth. I repeat what is required until I become it. Say it again. Speak it with command. Speak it until your mind remembers it when you wake and echoes it before you sleep. This is no longer motivation. This is reprogramming. This is the construction of a new identity, one action at a time. Your life is not changed by grand gestures. It is changed by the consistency of your obedience. If you rise each morning and speak truth and write with clarity and act with boldness, then wealth is not a possibility. It is a certainty. You will not need to beg for opportunity. You will become opportunity. Let this be your map. When in doubt, return to your habits. When discouraged, examine your rituals. When confused, ask, what have I repeated today? And the answer will reveal your direction. The subconscious does not respond to scattered effort. It responds to pattern. Show it who you are by showing it what you do daily. I repeat, wealth does not come by accident. It comes by obedience to habit. If today your results are small, do not curse the seed. Examine the soil, examine the pattern, and change it. Not once, not for a week, but until your new pattern becomes your only way of living. You are not weak, you are untrained, you are not undisciplined, you are unaligned. But that ends today. Today you install wealth-building rituals. Today you command your behavior with clarity. Today you begin to walk like the man you wrote down in your definite chief aim. Now speak again. I am a man of intention. My habits build my wealth. I repeat what is required until I become it. And then prove it every day without fail, until the world has no choice but to call you rich, not because of what you possess, but because of who you have become. There are two types of men in this world, the man who waits and the man who moves. And I will tell you now, without hesitation, it is the man who moves who commands fortune. The man who waits prays for change, but never touches it. The man who moves seizes the unseen and shapes the formless. Riches are not drawn to hesitation. They are drawn to decision. They do not serve the cautious. They obey the bold. If you would think and act like a true millionaire, then you must train yourself to move with speed, speak with clarity, and decide with firmness. This is the law of decision and initiative. You do not need to know everything to begin. You need only to begin. The world has been delayed by thinkers who never act and actors who never think. But the men who rise above all others are those who think with purpose and act with courage. They do not wait for the perfect time. They create it. They do not ask for permission. They give themselves the order and obey it. And they do not explain their boldness to the weak. They simply produce results. Let us look to the life of Charles M. Schwab, the man who rose from humble beginnings to become the steel king of America. Schwab was not the richest man in the room when opportunity struck. He was not the oldest. He was not the most experienced. But he was the most decisive. He took action. He offered value. He did not wait for guarantees. He gave guarantees. And because of that, he earned the trust of Andrew Carnegie, helped build an empire of steel, and amassed wealth most men only dream of. His fortune was not the reward of caution. It was the product of initiative. Let me make this plain. Fortune does not follow the hesitant. The man who acts without waiting gains ground daily. Each delay is a lost opportunity. Each moment of indecision is a door closed. When you hesitate, life does not pause with you. It continues forward and gives your share to the man who is willing to act. Indecision is not harmless. It is poverty in disguise. It is the mask that fear wears when it wishes to appear reasonable. And every time you say, "Let me think about it," when you know the next step, you shrink your power and surrender your ground. Now listen closely. Success does not require you to feel ready. It requires you to move anyway. Emotion is not the master. Decision is. The true millionaire does not consult his feelings before he acts. He consults his purpose. And if the action serves his purpose, he proceeds. If it does not, he discards it. But never does he remain in limbo. Limbo is where weak men drown. This must now become your morning discipline. Take one definite step each day toward your financial aim, regardless of emotion or circumstance. No excuses, no deferral, no apologies. One step every day. A letter sent, a plan written, a contact made, a product improved, a page completed, a decision executed. This is not about speed alone. It is about obedience to direction. Direction without action is fantasy, but direction with action is wealth. You will not be rewarded for what you planned. You will be rewarded for what you completed. Many men speak of their dreams. Few ever translate them into motion. The man who does becomes a magnet for momentum. And momentum, once gained, does not belong to the cautious. It belongs to the committed. You may ask, but what if I act and make a mistake? I say, then you will learn faster than the man who waits. Mistakes do not ruin men. Delay does. The successful man corrects course in motion. The failing man perfects a plan he never dares to follow. Repeat this now and do not speak it passively. Say it with strength. I decide quickly, I act boldly, I move without permission. Wealth follows the man who moves. Say it again. Let the old habit of hesitation be drowned out by this new rhythm of decision. This is no longer about doing something great someday. This is about doing something definite today. Speak your aim aloud. Choose the next step. Take it, then tomorrow take the next. This is how men become kings, not by talent, but by decision. You will find that life begins to respond when you move. Doors open, resources appear, people offer help. Why? Because the world does not trust those who are unsure. It gravitates toward those who are resolved. Your confidence invites opportunity. Your movement commands respect. And even if you begin small, the consistency of action will build a force around you that hesitation could never achieve. Now listen, if you have been waiting, this is the day that ends. No more preparing to prepare. No more talking about what you will do. Do it. Write the message. Make the call. Begin the product. Finish the plan. Move, and then move again. And if you fall, stand up and move again. Action is the proof of belief. Without it, your dreams remain a fantasy. Let this be the new identity you walk in. I decide quickly. I act boldly. I move without permission. Wealth follows the man who moves. This is no longer suggestion. It is your command. Say it before you act. Say it when you feel fear. Say it when you would rather wait. And then move anyway. There is no such thing as idle speech. Every word you speak is a command. Every phrase you repeat is an instruction to the subconscious. You are either directing your mind toward wealth or toward poverty, and the line is drawn by what exits your mouth daily. If you would think and act like a true millionaire, then you must now speak like one. Not when the money appears, not when the business succeeds, not when others believe in you. Now before proof, before praise, before progress, because it is your voice that awakens the power within you. This principle is called autosuggestion, and it is one of the most powerful laws of success known to man. It is the act of feeding your subconscious mind the instructions you desire it to follow. The subconscious does not distinguish truth from falsehood. It does not reason. It obeys. It accepts what is repeated with feeling, and it works night and day to bring that command to pass. If you repeat lack, it builds limitation. If you repeat fear, it creates paralysis. But if you repeat abundance, wealth, and decision, the subconscious aligns your entire being to fulfill it. This is why I tell you, you do not wait until you are wealthy to speak like it. You speak it, then become it. A man who says, I can't afford it, is teaching his mind poverty. A man who says, I always fail, is hiring failure to live with him. But a man who declares, I am building wealth, I am guided by law, I am becoming powerful, is planting the seeds of riches into the soil of his mind, and he will harvest accordingly. Every morning, your subconscious awaits instruction. And whether you speak with intention or drift into chatter, it listens, it records, it obeys. So ask yourself, what have you spoken today? What words have you placed at the foundation of your future? Have you rehearsed complaints, or have you declared commands? Have you spoken vision, or have you repeated defeat? Let me tell you what every true millionaire does. He speaks his definite chief aim aloud daily. He speaks it with power, with clarity, with fire in the voice and belief in the belly. He speaks it until the subconscious accepts it as law, until every part of him walks and acts as if it were already accomplished. This is not fantasy. This is formation. And the man who does this does not merely wait for riches. He becomes rich in identity first, and reality follows. You must now develop a ritual. Each morning, before the world invades your mind with its fears and doubts, you will speak your aim aloud, not passively, not quietly, but as a king declaring his next conquest. You will look yourself in the mirror and say, "This is who I am, this is what I do, this is where I am going, and nothing will stop me." And if your voice trembles, speak anyway. If your faith feels weak, speak louder, because the subconscious does not respond to feelings, it responds to repetition with emotion. And every time you speak with intention, you are building yourself into a man the world must respect, whether it wants to or not. Now let me warn you, to speak fear is to rehearse defeat. To speak limitation is to give it life. Many men sabotage themselves not by what they do, but by what they say. "I'll never be good enough. It's too hard. No one will listen to me." And with every utterance, they dig a deeper hole, not in the world, but in their self-image. You must not be this man. You must now guard your mouth as carefully as your money, because what you say becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes what you do, and what you do becomes your result. Say this now, and say it with strength. "I speak abundance, I instruct my mind, I reject all that opposes my calling." Say it again, not like a wish, but like a decree. Speak it like a man who is no longer begging for change, but commanding transformation. This is the discipline that separates the wanderer from the wealthy. Not luck, not background, speech, thought, repetition. If you do this for one day, you will feel different. If you do it for 1 week, you will walk differently. But if you do it for 30 days, without fail, without apology, without delay, you will not recognize yourself. And the world will not be able to ignore you, because your internal declaration will become your external demonstration. Remember, your world follows your words. The man who says, "I always struggle," will. The man who says, "I am becoming great," will. You do not describe your life with your speech. You create it. And the wealth you seek is waiting for the man who refuses to speak against himself another day. From this moment forward, you speak only what you seek. You rehearse only your rise. You affirm only your authority. And you build your self-image into a fortress of certainty. Speak again. "I speak abundance. I instruct my mind. I reject all that opposes my calling." And then act like it. Excuses are the language of the defeated. The man who leans on them has already made his decision. He has chosen comfort over conquest, validation over victory, and ease over elevation. The man who makes excuses has already rejected success. He may speak of wanting riches, but in truth he has bowed to fear, fatigue, or the approval of others. And no matter how well-dressed an excuse may be, it is still a rejection of action, a denial of power, and an abandonment of duty. If you would become a true millionaire, not just in possession, but in stature, you must now burn every excuse you've ever spoken or believed. You must understand this. Very few people will understand your ambition, your desire for more, your rejection of average, your appetite for responsibility. These things threaten the comfort of those who have settled, and so they will call you proud, foolish, unrealistic, obsessed. They will laugh behind your back and sometimes to your face. But listen to me and listen well. This is the price of elevation. Every man who rises must first endure solitude. And the higher you rise, the lonelier the path becomes, until you are surrounded only by those who have paid the same price. Let us speak of Abraham Lincoln, a man who endured insult, betrayal, failure, and isolation. He was called a fool by his enemies and a disappointment by his friends. He walked often alone, bearing a vision too large for those around him to grasp. But he did not break. He did not bend. He held to his belief, not because others supported him, but because his inner voice would not let him retreat. That voice, clear, definite, and unshakable, became his companion when men fled, and his compass when the world seemed lost. And because of that, he became not just a president, but a force of moral authority that outlived his body. John D. Rockefeller faced similar scorn. He was criticized, attacked, accused, but he understood one thing: The world does not grant greatness to those who need applause. It yields only to those who have the capacity to walk alone, if need be, with clarity and persistence. Thomas Edison worked in laboratories where no one visited, toiled in silence, and failed thousands of times, all while being dismissed as mad. But he listened not to men. He listened to the vision that lived inside him, and because he did, the world now lights its cities because of his decision to persist in solitude. You will not be the exception. If you desire to build wealth on your own terms, you will have to walk alone, at least for a season. You will have to leave behind the approval of the familiar and step into the judgment of the unknown. You will have to silence your need for comfort and obey only one voice, your own, the voice of your definite purpose, the voice of your higher calling, the voice of the man you are becoming. And let me give you this command as clearly as I can say it. You will not need a crowd. You will need obedience to your inner voice. The crowd will waver. The crowd will mock. The crowd will shift with the wind. But your voice, when trained, when disciplined, when anchored in purpose, will not fail you. And when the day comes that you succeed, the same crowd that doubted you will call you fortunate, gifted, even brilliant. But you will know the truth. You simply refuse to follow them. Now I must speak of something many avoid, the weakness of excuses. Each excuse you make is not only a delay, it is a betrayal. Excuses weaken a man's character. Each one is a seed of self-betrayal. When you say, I would have, or I couldn't because, you are not protecting yourself. You are subtracting from your own strength. You are telling your subconscious that failure is acceptable so long as it has a story. And soon, your life becomes a museum of stories instead of a monument of achievements. You must now become ruthless with your excuses. Identify them, burn them, replace them. If you are tired, act anyway. If you are afraid, act anyway. If no one believes in you, believe in yourself and act anyway. Action is the antidote. Obedience to purpose is the cure. Let this now be your affirmation and speak it with force. I walk with vision, not opinion. I do not need applause. I need direction. Say it again. Say it until the old part of you that required company dies, until the need to be seen is replaced by the desire to produce results. Do not fear walking alone. That path leads to sovereignty. That path is where character is forged, where belief becomes unbreakable, and where identity is no longer borrowed. It is earned. You were not made to echo others. You were made to declare. You were not made to fit into small lives. You were made to expand into a life of purpose, built not by approval, but by alignment. From this moment forward, you will no longer apologize for wanting more. You will no longer explain your dreams to men who refuse to build their own. You will no longer decorate your failure with elegant excuses. You will walk, with or without applause, with or without companions, because the voice inside you is louder than the opinions outside you. Now say it once more. I walk with vision, not opinion. I do not need applause. I need direction. And then walk forward, alone if you must, until others can no longer deny the result of your decision. The world fears failure. The average man runs from it, apologizes for it, curses it, or uses it as the reason he returns to mediocrity. But the man who becomes a millionaire, who truly becomes one in thought, word, and action, does not fear failure. He studies it. He welcomes it. He calls it by its real name, temporary defeat, because that is all it ever is. Temporary, and only the man who misnames it becomes its victim. Every great fortune you admire was built not in ease, but upon the ashes of what others called failure. It was not the absence of loss that forged their strength. It was their interpretation of loss. Failure, in its proper understanding, is not an enemy. It is a messenger. It is the silent test that asks whether you are ready to become what you declared. It is the trial that proves whether your desire is real or imagined. And the man who flinches, who folds, who calls himself finished, was never truly committed to begin with. You must now learn to command failure to serve you, to transform it into instruction, to stand over it rather than under it. You will not run from it. You will not give it more power than it has. It cannot stop you unless you stop yourself. And let me tell you a true story, one I have shared with thousands because it contains a golden lesson, the story of R.U. Darby. Darby had a dream to become rich. He went west and began mining for gold. After some success, he bought machinery and dug with enthusiasm. Then, nothing. The gold vein disappeared. He drilled on, deeper and harder, but the gold never returned. So he quit, sold the equipment for pennies, went home. But the man who bought the equipment hired an engineer to assess the mine, and he discovered something Darby never considered. He had stopped 3 feet from gold, just 3 feet. The new owner struck one of the richest gold veins in history because he persisted when Darby did not. Darby learned from that defeat. He became a successful insurance salesman, not by avoiding rejection, but by remembering what it had cost him to stop too soon. He used failure as fuel. He decided never to quit again. And because of that, he earned a fortune, not in mining, but in the character he built after temporary defeat. Now listen to me. You are not a failure. You are a man in training. Act accordingly. Failure is not a tattoo. It is a bruise. It does not define you unless you give it a permanent home in your mind. You must now remove the label and replace it with a command. You must speak over every loss the words, "This is a lesson. This is not the end. I rise from this stronger." And then you act again, not tomorrow, today. Every time you are struck down, rise that day. Do not wait for the mood to return. Do not wait for the energy to build. Do not wait for the pain to pass. Act again that very day. Even if the step is small, even if your voice shakes, you move. That is how the millionaire is forged, not by smooth victories, but by the habit of relentless return. Let this now become your discipline. When defeated, repeat your aim aloud and take one action that affirms it. Do not allow failure to speak the last word. You will not close the day in retreat. You will close it in persistence. You will train your subconscious to understand that defeat is not the master. You are. There is no man who has not tasted defeat. The only question is, what does he do next? And the answer you give with your actions determines whether you will build a fortune or bury your potential. You may ask, but what if I keep failing? Then I say, good, you are still in the arena. You are still alive. You are still moving. And one of these strikes will hit gold if you continue. You do not fail because of mistakes. You fail because of surrender. But you will not surrender, not after hearing this. You will rise. Now repeat this and speak it like a man who is done being tossed around by emotion. I rise after every blow. I grow stronger through struggle. I cannot be defeated unless I quit. Say it again. Say it until the part of you that feared failure is gone. Say it until the man who once quit is replaced by a man who cannot be broken. Understand this. You do not become powerful despite failure. You become powerful because of how you respond to it. Every loss becomes training. Every rejection, refinement. Every mistake, momentum, if you decide it to be so. There's no rich man who has not been humbled. There is no builder of empires who has not been broken. But the reason you know their names is because they got back up. And that is what you will now do, not once, not sometimes, but always, until success is no longer a possibility, but an inevitability. Speak this now, and let it become your new code of conduct. I rise after every blow. I grow stronger through struggle. I cannot be defeated unless I quit, and then prove it. Because the world does not belong to the flawless. It belongs to the faithful to a purpose, the faithful to a vision, the faithful to action, even when it hurts. Let this be your reputation. He does not quit. He does not fear defeat. He learns. He builds. He acts again. This is the mindset of a millionaire. There is a law in this world more fixed than gravity, more certain than time, and more powerful than circumstance. Money flows to value, and value flows only from a man who has found his purpose and is willing to act upon it with precision and power. The man who chases money without value will lose both. But the man who produces value from a deep internal fire, who renders more than is expected, who serves more than is required, cannot be kept from wealth. The world is structured to reward such a man because his worth is not measured by desire but by his contribution. You must now understand that you are not paid by the hour. You are paid for the value you bring to the hour. Two men may work the same number of minutes, but only one will earn a fortune, because only one brought thought, purpose, efficiency, and excellence into his work. The other brought time, and time alone is not wealth. It is merely the raw material. What you build with it determines your income, your respect, and your influence. I now teach you one of the greatest principles ever discovered, the principle of going the extra mile. This means you render more and better service than that for which you are paid. You do it voluntarily. You do it with joy. You do it not because of immediate return, but because you understand that life itself takes note of those who exceed expectation, and it does not forget to reward them. Let us consider again the name Carnegie, a name etched in history, not just for fortune, but for impact. Andrew Carnegie built his empire not simply on steel, but on efficiency, value, and vision. He surrounded himself with men who solved problems quickly, who simplified complex systems, who did not do just what was asked, but more. And those men, in return, became rich, not because they demanded more money, but because they became too valuable to ignore. You must now train yourself in this same law. Each day, look for a way to exceed what is asked of you. Look for a way to increase efficiency, improve quality, solve problems, uplift others, and expand results. Do not ask what the minimum is. Ask, what would the man I wish to become do in this moment? And then do it. If you are asked for 1 page, write 2. If you are given 1 task, complete 3. If you are told to stand, run. The man who consistently goes the extra mile is not a servant. He becomes a leader, because his value multiplies and his worth becomes visible. He does not need to chase recognition. Recognition chases him. He does not need to beg for advancement. Advancement is the natural result of his effort. This is not philosophy. It is law. You must now stop thinking like the man who hopes to get paid for breathing. You must become the man who builds such value that payment becomes a formality, not a negotiation. You must become indispensable to your craft, to your client, to your vision. And the only way to become indispensable is to go beyond what is expected every single day. Repeat this now, and let the words brand themselves into your subconscious. I do not chase money, I create value. I increase my worth through service. Say it again. Say it until your actions reflect it. Until every move you make carries the weight of purpose. Until every moment you live becomes a seed planted toward a harvest of riches. Do not ask, what can I get? Ask, what can I give? Do not ask, how little can I do to get by? Ask, how much can I become to be remembered? This is the thinking of a millionaire, not a beggar, not a hustler, not a gambler, a builder, a producer, a man of value. And hear this well. Money is not attracted to men who want it. It is attracted to men who have earned the right to command it. That right is not bestowed by lineage or luck. It is bestowed by labor, purpose, and persistence in doing more than expected. So from this moment forward, let every act of service be a training ground for your wealth. Let every opportunity to exceed expectations be seized, not because someone is watching, but because you are becoming. And let every morning begin with this instruction. Today, I will bring more value than I brought yesterday. I will outwork my former self. I will exceed the measure. Repeat once more and say it with command. I do not chase money. I create value. I increase my worth through service. You are now becoming the kind of man wealth cannot ignore. There is a moment when a man stops wishing for riches and begins to command them. That moment is not marked by income or by applause. It is marked by decision, a private, irreversible choice to align every word, every thought, every habit, and every action with the timeless laws of success. If you have walked with me through every part of this instruction, if you have listened not only with curiosity, but with commitment, then that moment is now. You are no longer the man who begs. You are no longer the man who delays. You are the man who builds. You were born to build, command, and multiply riches. Let me speak plainly. Desire is the starting point. Nothing begins until a man wants something so intensely that it consumes his thoughts. Not idle wishing, not vague interest, but a burning desire that demands fulfillment. If that desire lives in you, and you have fed it daily with focus, then the fire has been lit. Faith is the bridge. It is not wishful thinking. It is the state of mind that allows the invisible to become visible. It is built, not stumbled upon. It is installed in the subconscious through repetition, through emotion, and through autosuggestion. If you have spoken your aim aloud, daily and with power, then your bridge is under construction. Decision is the engine. The successful man does not wander. He does not hesitate. He decides, and once that decision is made, he acts. He does not consult the doubters. He does not delay for permission. If you have made the decision to live no longer in poverty of thought, then your engine is already running. Persistence is the fuel. All great fortunes are born in struggle, tested in resistance, and earned through the refusal to quit. Defeat is not failure. It is the forge. If you have decided to persist, regardless of feeling, regardless of failure, regardless of fear, then your tank will never run dry. Planning is the map. A millionaire does not move blindly. He maps his steps. He organizes his time. He acts deliberately. If you have begun to structure your day, your habits, your environment, and your associations in alignment with your aim, then your course is now charted. Autosuggestion is the daily tool. Your mind is your workshop. What you repeat in it becomes your world. If you speak of power, of victory, of riches, your subconscious will respond accordingly. But if you rehearse weakness or doubt or complaint, then poverty will become your partner. You must now speak only what you seek until it becomes your instinct. And above all, action is the only proof of belief. Without action, your aim is fantasy. Without movement, your desire is noise. A true millionaire acts even when afraid, acts even when uncertain, acts even when alone, because he knows that action is the signal of leadership, the seed of opportunity, and the first domino that sets fortune in motion. If you obey these laws without exception, if you train your attention, guard your speech, honor your plan, act upon your aim, and persist through every storm, then the only thing standing between you and wealth is time. And time will submit to you. It must. For time always yields to the man who is definite, disciplined, and determined. You will not be perfect. You will not be free of obstacles. But you will no longer live as a beggar. You will live as a builder. You will walk with purpose. You will think with clarity. You will act with authority. And men will feel your difference long before they see your results. Now speak this final affirmation aloud and do not whisper it. Speak it like a man who has declared war on his former self. I was not born to beg. I was born to command. I build wealth with law, with faith, with obedience. I am the man riches obey. Again. I was not born to beg. I was born to command. I build wealth with law, with faith, with obedience. I am the man riches obey. Let that become the identity you walk in from this moment forward. No longer seeking riches, but becoming the type of man to whom riches are drawn. There is nothing left to hope for. There is only one action left to take. The instructions are before you. The path is now clear. The next 30 days of your life will determine the next 30 years if you obey these laws. Repeat your aim. Control your thoughts. Move without hesitation. Persist past every defeat. Speak wealth. Create value. Walk alone if you must. Act daily, refuse excuses, and train yourself through ritual and repetition into the kind of man who not only attracts wealth but multiplies it. Repeat this every day. Act without delay, and you will think and act not like a common man, but like a true millionaire.